My dear brothers and sisters, welcome to today's journey, a journey of faith, of hope, and of love. For the next 15 minutes, I invite you to open not only your ears, but also your heart, because what we will share together is not just knowledge, not just words on a page, but living truth, a truth that has the power to transform lives. Let us begin with a question. What is faith? Is faith merely believing in something we cannot see? Is it a blind leap into the dark, hoping that somehow we will land safely? Or is faith something deeper, something richer, something alive? The Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That means faith is not just an idea, it is a foundation, a reality stronger than the stones beneath our feet. Faith is what allows us to see with the eyes of the soul, even when the eyes of the body cannot. Imagine for a moment a small child holding the hand of their father. The child does not know where the road leads. The child does not understand every danger, every challenge, every turn ahead, but the child trusts. And because of that trust, the child walks without fear. That, my friends, is faith. Faith is not about knowing every answer. Faith is not about controlling every detail. Faith is about trust. Trust in the one who holds the universe in his hands. Trust in the one who gave us breath. Trust in the one who loved us so much that he laid down his life upon the cross. But faith is not always easy. Life is filled with storms. There are moments when the sky grows dark, when the winds howl, when everything seems uncertain. Perhaps you have faced such storms, the loss of someone you love, an illness that shakes your body, a broken relationship that wounds your heart, or even the silent battle of loneliness that no one else sees. In those moments, faith feels fragile. We ask, God, where are you? Why is this happening? Have you forgotten me? Yet it is in those very moments that faith shines brightest. For true faith is not proven when everything is easy. True faith is tested in the fire of trials. Like gold refined by flames, our faith becomes stronger when it endures suffering. And when we hold on, even with trembling hands, even with tears streaming down our faces, we discover that God is closer than we ever imagined. Think of Peter, the disciple of Jesus. On that stormy night, the boat was tossing, the waves were crashing, and fear gripped the hearts of the disciples. But then, through the mist, they saw a figure walking on the water. It was Jesus. And Peter, bold yet fragile, said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, Come. Peter stepped out of the boat, and for a moment, he walked on the waves. But when he took his eyes off Jesus and looked at the storm, he began to sink, crying out, Lord, save me. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and lifted him up. This is faith, not perfect courage, not unshakable strength, but a willingness to step out of the boat, to take that first step toward Jesus, even when the storm rages. And when we fall, and we all fall, faith is reaching out and discovering that his hand is already there. My friends, faith is not a one-time decision. It is a journey of walking with God day by day, step by step, sometimes with joy, sometimes with questions, sometimes with pain, but always with the assurance that he walks beside us. Let me share a story. There was once a man who carried a heavy load on his back. He had been walking for miles, weary and burdened, until he saw a cart driven by a kind stranger. The stranger offered him a ride. The man gratefully climbed onto the cart. But strangely, he kept the heavy load on his shoulders. When asked why, he replied, I thought it was enough that you carried me. I didn't want to trouble you with my burden as well. How often are we like that man? We trust God to save us, but we still cling to our burdens, carrying them ourselves. Yet Jesus said, Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Faith means laying down those burdens. It means trusting not only that God will carry us, but that he will also carry the weight of our worries, our guilt, our fears. Faith is surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust, the surrender that says, Lord, I cannot do this on my own, but I know you can, so I place it all in your hands. As we begin this journey together, I invite you to ask yourself, where is your faith today? Is it strong and steady? Is it fragile and wavering? Or maybe you feel like you have no faith left at all. Wherever you are, know this. God does not measure your worth by the size of your faith. He loves you just the same, even a mustard seed of faith. He says, can move mountains. So let us walk together. Let us open our hearts. Let us allow faith to take root, to grow, and to lead us into the fullness of life that God has promised. This is only the beginning, and in the next step of our journey, we will explore how faith becomes the guiding light in the darkest valleys, how forgiveness flows from faith, and how faith transforms not only individuals, but entire communities. But for now, let us hold on to this truth. Faith is not about how tightly we hold on to God. It is about how securely He holds on to us. Faith, my friends, is like a seed. At first, it may be small, almost invisible, hidden in the soil of our hearts. You cannot see its strength at the beginning. You may even doubt that it will grow. But if the soil is cared for, if the seed receives water and light, it begins to sprout, slowly, quietly, almost unseen. It grows roots deep into the ground. And one day, it breaks through the surface, reaching for the sky. That is what happens when you choose to trust God. At first, it may feel small, even fragile, but little by little, as you walk with Him, as you pray, as you read His Word, as you see His hand moving in your life, your faith grows, and what once was a seed becomes a tree, strong enough to provide shelter, strong enough to withstand storms. But let us be honest. Sometimes we do not see growth. Sometimes we feel stuck, like our faith is not moving forward. Maybe you have prayed for years and nothing seems to change. Maybe you have asked for healing, for answers, for direction, and the silence of heaven feels unbearable. In those moments, it is easy to think our faith is failing. Yet faith is not measured by feelings. Faith is not about always seeing results. Faith is about trust in God's character. When we do not see His hand, we trust His heart. When we cannot trace His plan, we rest in His promises. Think of Abraham. God told him, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. Abraham did not know where he was going. He had no map, no clear picture of the destination. Yet he went, because he trusted the one who called him. Years passed before he saw the promise fulfilled. But Abraham is called the father of faith, not because he never struggled, not because he never doubted, but because he kept walking, step by step, trusting that God would keep His word. Faith, at its core, is a relationship. It is not about formulas, rituals, or traditions. It is about knowing the God who made you, the God who loves you, the God who never leaves you. Relationships take time, they take trust, they take vulnerability, and so does faith. Let me share another picture with you. Imagine a bridge stretched across a deep canyon. You are standing at the edge, needing to cross. You may say, yes, I believe this bridge can hold me. I believe it is strong. But faith is not just believing the bridge exists. Faith is stepping onto it, trusting it with your whole weight. That is the difference between belief and faith. Belief is agreeing with the truth in your mind. Faith is acting on that truth with your life. And sometimes, faith looks foolish to the world. Noah built an ark when the skies were clear. Joshua marched around Jericho with trumpets instead of weapons. Mary believed the angel when he told her she would bear the Son of God. Faith always has an element of risk, because faith is not built on what we see, but on who we know. Now, let us bring this closer to our daily lives. Maybe you are a parent, praying for your child who has wandered far from God. Maybe you are a student, unsure of your future, overwhelmed by pressure. Maybe you are facing financial struggles, wondering how you will make it through the next month. Faith does not mean you ignore reality. Faith means you look reality in the eye and still choose to trust God. Faith means believing that He will make a way when there seems to be no way. Faith is also contagious. When one person dares to believe, it can inspire many others. Think about the early church. They faced persecution, prison, even death, yet their faith burned so brightly that it spread across the world. From Jerusalem to Rome to every corner of the earth. And today, we are part of that same story. So here is my question for you. What step of faith is God asking you to take today? It may not be as dramatic as walking on water. It may not be as world-changing as leading a nation. But maybe God is asking you to forgive someone who hurt you. Maybe He is asking you to step into a new calling, to speak words of encouragement, to share the gospel with a friend, or to simply keep trusting Him in the silence. Faith is not about the size of the step. It is about the direction of the step. As long as it is toward Jesus, you are walking in faith. Let me close this part with one more story. There was a man who loved to watch tightrope walkers. One day, a performer stretched a rope across a wide gorge and walked across it with ease. The crowd cheered. Then he pushed a wheelbarrow across the rope. Again without falling. The crowd roared with amazement. Finally, the performer asked, "Who believes I can carry a person across this rope in the wheelbarrow?" The crowd shouted, "We believe." Then he pointed to one man and said, "You, get in the wheelbarrow." Suddenly, the man went silent. That is the challenge of faith. It is one thing to say we believe. It is another to step in and entrust our lives fully into God's hands. So, my dear brothers and sisters, as we end this first part of our journey, remember this. Faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is the decision to trust God in the presence of doubt. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the courage to walk forward even when fear whispers in your ear. And faith is not about how strong you are, it is about how strong He is. Hold on to this truth. Faith is stepping into the unknown with confidence in the one who knows.